Content note. This episode discusses sexual assault, drug-facilitated harm, and domestic violence. Some parts may feel out of sequence due to required legal updates and safety edits. Please take care of yourself in whatever way feels right as you listen. Thank you for tuning in. Sherri Papini is a survivor whose life has been shaped by trauma, misunderstood by the world, and reclaimed through resilience and purpose. In 2016, her disappearance from a quiet California neighborhood became national news, painting her alternately as victim and villain. Sensationalized headlines and public speculation obscured the deeper reality. Years of emotional abuse, manipulation, and control had left her vulnerable long before her abduction. Now, Sherri speaks candidly about the fear, grooming, captivity, and psychological torment she endured, from the terrifying moments of her kidnapping to her reflections on what left her vulnerable to preventable danger. Her story reveals not only the personal cost of trauma, but the damage caused when media narratives oversimplify and distorts a survivor's experience for profit. But Sherri's journey does not end with trauma. Through her healing, she has found purpose in supporting and guiding women as they enter the prison system and as they transition afterward, offering the education and guidance she once desperately needed herself. She uplifts not only the women she works with, but also their families, filling gaps her own family faced and demonstrating the power of resilience in the face of adversity. This is True Crime in Hollywood, Sherri's personal tale. Hi, dear listeners. Today, I'm sitting down with the one and only Sherri Papini, someone I've grown deeply fond of, whose story has validated some of my own hardest lived experiences. I wanted to have this conversation so that everyone listening can hear Sherri in her own words, in her own voice, and on her own healing journey. If you have told me years ago that I would be sitting here with her, I would have been in utter disbelief. To give a bit of context, my undergraduate studies focused on media framing, biases, rhetoric, and manipulation. And I've long understood how the media can craft narratives about women that strip away their autonomy and agency, because unfortunately, that's what often captures attention. Over the past 6 months, I've learned so much from Sherri, not just from what's been shared publicly, but from hearing her story directly, from her therapist's insights, and from the layers of her lived experience that only she can tell. And now, she's just beginning her advocacy work, taking the first steps to use her experience to support others and create meaningful change. This is exactly why this podcast exists, to uplift the voices of those whose stories have often been told for them rather than by them. I want to honor the courage it takes to step into this new chapter and the hope it brings. So on that note, welcome to True Crime in Hollywood, Sherri.
Thank you for having me.
The honor. Seriously, you already know how much I've fangirled over you. So, before we jump in, I just want to begin this by grounding in the present. How would you describe yourself as you are here and now?
Well, November is a particularly difficult month. So, here and now, I'm going through it with November. But in terms of where I'm at, spiritual journey, healing journey, I'm feeling really good, doing really well.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Now, I imagine this is something that many listeners would love to hear from you, and you are welcome to share whatever parts feel most accessible, grounded, and safe to speak right now.
You're just opening the floor just for me?
Just for you.
I feel so honored to be here. I think just by you doing what you just did, I think you just kind of watched me be a little shocked right? This is
Yeah.
this process of filming and media and all of what my life has been for nearly a decade now. Like you said that and it was just kind of like, okay, this is your space. I was like, wait, what? I'm
Fair.
sorry. I'm sorry. Say that again. What? um, it's I'm blown away by the work that you're cultivating, and I'm honored to be present and sitting present in it because that's not the experience that I've had, and it has been a great challenge to go up against these big entities when it comes to interviewing, where you're boxed in with gosh, it's like the interview that I did with Juju Chang, right? They flew me
Mhm.
to New York and they did this big thing for the 2020 and blah 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 blah. And then I sat down with Juju Chang and she was warm and lovely and very kind. And then she brought out the paper. And that
Mm.
glorious paper had what the producers and the network wanted her to question me with. And then I get boxed in of this like I am coached and I'm pre-prepared to be polite and to um be approachable and all of these things in these interviews where I just want to be like, I'm sorry, what was that question that you just asked me? Hold on a second. So it's like Juju Chang holding this paper and her going lie after lie after lie. Why should we believe you now? And I take a moment and inside, of course, I'm going like, are you kidding me? Like I just talked about being tortured for 22 days and held against my will, and you just took all of that and went, nope, we're going to answer the questions that the network wants. And then what happened after that interview? I did other interviews because, of course, I'm trying to promote my book that I wrote. And they all said the same thing. They piggybacked on Juju's words and her interview. And that's how the media works. They don't come up with their own uh, creative space or anything like that. That's
Mhm.
trauma informed and that's healing focused because they're fixated on what's going to get the most clickbait, what's going to get people's reactions and responses, and what's going to target a reaction, which we already know. Um, you get more of a reaction by sparking anger. You get more of a reaction by sparking mean girling and bullying and things like that. So it was fascinating for me to go through this huge sociological education of what it's like to be interviewed by the media and how in the heck do you break this nonstop loop of the same questions that are tailored and targeted for a certain particular message. And on the very last interview that I did, I threw my hands up and went, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't do an interview with someone that it's already they're already determined to misunderstand me. What am I doing? Why do I keep trusting these people that are determined and fixated on misunderstanding my story? And so I took a break and I took some time and I started redirecting my focus on trying to sink into the work that I did in my book. And then somehow magically, I found you. And
Hmm.
you were brought to my attention. And it was like I listened to your podcast and I listened to these other women and these other survivors. And it was like an entire world expanded. And then I did an interview with Tim Story, which was so profound. And it's like, oh my God, there are people out there. There are people
Mm.
out there that have enough critical thinking to see through it and that are willing to be challenged. And that was
Mhm.
my problem. My problem was I kept running for people saying, I have a voice. Finally, I'm free. I'm free. I have a voice to be able to speak. You've got it wrong. But they didn't care. And there are
Mhm.
people out there that do care. genuinely care, and other survivors that the second they see it, they go, oh my God, that's what I went through, and that's what I'm going through. And there's been a couple of interviews where I've really felt that. And so I think my experience with you, where you just opened it up, I was like, wait, what? Because I'm so traumatized by the media now. I'm like,
Yes, yes,
wait a
rightfully
minute.
so.
You're not just using me to get clickbait. You actually want to hear what I have to say. So I appreciate that.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. And yeah, I and to give some context to everybody about how you and I got connected, because I think this is a very important thing that I just touched on my social media, but I want to make sure that I share it here. Back earlier this summer, when the HBO documentary came out, I had previously seen the Hulu documentary. And knowing that you were going to be positioned front and center, it was really important for me to watch the HBO one. And when I say that you validated my previous lived experience, I have been in strict therapy for 3 years last month. And in 5 minutes, you gave me power and language and understanding. That when you are in a really hard, abusive relationship, seeking validation elsewhere, finding emotional connection, emotional cheating is so real, and so many people have done it. I'm sure people who are listening have done it. I sure as shit have. And it all made sense. And one of the things that really helped was that I was in the early process of getting my certification as a mental health coordinator, and I had just completed my certification in trauma-informed support. So in the HBO doc, I was locked into your words and your therapist because you both were speaking my language. I didn't care on the other fluff stuff that was being curated. I was focused on the truth. I was focused on your history of trauma. And CPTSD is so complex, and we are a society that is so ill-informed when it comes to trauma. And so being able to have that, I'm using quotes, explained to me in the way that I was understanding and learning it, I was like, all of this makes sense. Holy shit, Sherri. And it was in that moment, I think it was literally probably within the next few days, I was like, you know what? No. I am going to stand up and I'm going to say, I believe Sherri Papini. I stand with Sherri Papini. I believe Sherri Papini. Because I do. I wasn't doing that to go viral. I wasn't doing that for clickbait. I was doing that to challenge the narrative. Because that's what I know. And that's what I've experienced myself, but also every single trauma survivor I've had on this show. And so it was like a mission to be like, okay, I hope my path crosses with you. I don't know how and I don't know when, but I hope she knows there's people out there who believe her, who support her. And yeah, I was engaging in some of those comment sections when I did have TikTok and I put it on TikTok. The comments on TikTok versus Instagram were drastically different.
Yes.
And when I would come back to people and challenge them and say, well, she's a liar, you're under her spell, you're do. And I am like, girl, no, I'm educated. That's the difference. And being a true crime expert and working with so many different cases, Also, being a producer in television, in unscripted television, allows me to also understand things on a very different level. Also, understanding, just like you said, what the network wants, what notes are we receiving, how do we make sure this story beat matches up, how do you, it's a formula.
Mm-hmm.
This is why every project of mine is rooted in pushing back against the true crime formula because I'm fucking sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking sick of it. And I left television because why? I was fucking sick of it. And I pride myself in connecting with humans like yourself because you are human. And you are a beautiful person, Sherri. Like, if you can't hear it in her voice already, folks, that preconceived notion is very heavy. And again, and we are living in a time where media bias and curated information is constant. So when I tell you critical thinking skills in the landscape of true crime needs to be happening now. And it's not just Sherri. This has been going on for decades and decades and decades. But if I can have any part in deconstructing that, please, I volunteer as tribute. So thank you for taking this time, one, to be vulnerable and share. And I know I caught you off guard. Just your face alone after I finished the question, it was just like,
Wait, me? Okay.
like truly. And I'm just like,
Oh,
oh
that's
my
so
gosh,
awesome.
but again, it's like I keep saying, like my friend Lauren says, a heart feels a heart. And that's what this is. And I just want to give you that platform. And so to take that a step further, Sherri, like I would love to know how you've been able to really balance your healing journey when you are not on your phone, you are not experiencing these comments, this mean girl bullshit, and everything else. How are you able to kind of create that distance?
The distance from the comments, you mean, online and
And then knowing
well,
your truth.
it's it's fascinating with what our society is now to me. And it's really just about having the discipline to not be curious about the hate, right? For a long time, I was like, I had a positive outlook on it, and for me, it's like that the harder they came at me, the more I wanted to hug them and go, "Oh my God, I'm so happy for you that you've never experienced what I've experienced." And I'm happy you haven't been tortured for 22 days straight, and gone through uh, everything that I went through as well. Now I'm like, what am I doing though? Why am I allowing that into my space? And what's fantastic about this digital age is that's just what it is. It's its own space. And for me, all I have to do is not read it.
How
Don't
hard
read
is
it.
that?
Don't look at it. Turn it off. Not I don't watch the news anymore. I don't read the comments, and occasionally there will be people that will send me something or let me know something, and it's up to me whether I choose to let it into my space or repel it from my space because it really um it's targeted and made to try and hurt and harm. So why am I drinking the poison still? Why am I going to allow that into my space? And I have really good boundaries around not reading comments and not watching the news and not letting a very profound, powerful interview that I did completely tear me down when the interviewer makes the comments after the interview and be like, well, I saw that she made this one mistake on this one thing, or she did like a hair flip or whatever, and then they fixate on that. I'm like, oh my God, we just had an hour of talking about sexual abuse and domestic violence, and you're talking about my outfit now? Are you serious?
Right.
Um, to really like, okay, this person is not getting the message. It's time to pivot, right? And
Hmm.
it's just about having boundaries for yourself and having discipline with those boundaries because we get so addicted to like what are the comments saying and what are we live in such an ego driven society of now with social media. Everybody thinks that they have this profound voice and everybody feels like their opinion matters, and we have this cancel culture now where it's like people can speak loudly enough to cause this huge effect, and we've given way too much power to people that are ego driven or that are really not informed or have the
Hmm.
mental capacity to be given that much power.
Right. Right.
um,
Yep.
which is really interesting. So I think it's really just about taking a step back, looking at what's happening, not taking it personal, and also having the discipline to turn off the digital things, which is really easy to do because we live in, I walk right
Hmm.
out and go hug a tree and walk in nature barefoot and, roast some marshmallows in my fireplace or something like that. That's like, this is real. There's reality and
Right.
real. And then there's digital world that is not. It's just not.
Hmm. Hmm. Mm.
Remember when you were a kid and I was a kid and the Mean Girls did the Mean Girl thing because it's been around since, forever.
Forever.
But do you remember when we were in that age where it's like everybody talks about everybody, no matter what? We're never going
Hmm.
to stop that.
Hmm.
But it wasn't in your face. You didn't have to read about it. So they maybe start a rumor at school or whatever,
Right.
but it wasn't up in your comments in your personal life. Do you remember that age?
Right. Yeah.
Now it's like you're bullied on social media and it's tearing people apart, and it's so horrible, and I just wish I could go back to that age when I had, remember when we had pagers before there was cell phone, right? And you had to actually pick
Right.
the phone and
Yeah.
dial a phone number instead of it being saved as just one single button or asking Siri to call them,
Hmm.
and it was a much simpler time where it wasn't shoved in our face so much.
Right. And I love that the emphasis on that when it comes to children and teenagers, it's so heavily talked about, right? But all of a sudden, when it comes to adults, it's like, well, adults can handle it. They can. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's the hypocrisy. Again, that critical thinking is really mandatory.
Hmm.
So I want to pivot a little bit because so often what looks like a perfect from the outside can actually hide a lot of pain, hurt, control, neglect, and unmet emotional needs. I know that's something I've experienced, like I shared in my past, but seeking validation or connection elsewhere, sometimes through emotional closeness that crossed lines. So, if it feels okay to go there, can we unpack what that dynamic looks like and how it takes shape for so many of us?
So I'm going to frame that really quick, just for me, really, really simply. I'm still in a trial, a custody trial, and the opposing counsel has made it abundantly clear that they don't want me talking about the opposing party.
Got
So I
it.
have some pretty tough guidelines that I have to follow, because it's been made abundantly clear that the opposing party is not okay with me speaking about it. So I'm going to do my best here. And I think what just happened is I just triggered a million people who are going through family court right now that
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm
Mm-hmm.
going through with the restrictions that I have. So I'm just going to talk about me.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm going to talk about what it was like for me when I was a little bit more emotionally immature and I didn't quite understand. I didn't have a firm grasp on what it meant to seek external validation rather than internal validation. And so when I was in my 20s, right? We all remember being in our 20s. We tend to be a little less secure than when we're in our 30s and our 40s. And that was it for me. I didn't understand. I didn't even have the language of like what external validation and internal like that. I didn't even know the word validation, frankly, back in my early 20s. And so when you're in a relationship, and even past history of relationships that I had, and I didn't have partners that also were on the same level of communication, that they didn't meet my needs, right? I was always the giver. I was always that if I'm just perfect enough, then they'll love me. Well, then I ended up getting myself involved with partners that took that and ran with it and turned it into superiority, which meant if I have a definition of what the perfect person looks like and I put it just out of her reach, then she will continue to try as hard as possible to break her back and bend over backwards to meet what the other person's definition of perfection was. And that was me. My need, want, and desire to be loved and to be heard and to be seen and to be desired superseded what it meant to fulfill that myself. I was seeking that all through partners. So I didn't know that I could do that for myself first. And if I did that, I would be far less insecure. And what that means is I wouldn't be codependent. And codependency means if he's not okay, I'm not okay. And that means that I'm not allowed to have my own feelings, and I'm not allowed to have autonomy, and I'm not allowed to dress how I want to dress, or speak how I want to speak, or be interested in the things that I'm interested in, because then he's not going to like me as much. And that means I'm hanging my hat on him and him alone. And I didn't know how to do that for myself first. And getting the therapy and the education on what that looked like, of course it's like, oh God, I was choosing all the wrong people and thinking that I that's as good as it's going to get. Because when you choose status and clout and money and,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
validation and all of those other things and that lifestyle and stuff like that, it doesn't fulfill you in the way that you think it is until you put in the work and you dig in and you learn how to be secure in yourself and how to love yourself and how to be confident in yourself. And for me as well, I trusted facade, right? Image
Yeah.
more than I trusted people. And that's part of my personality disorder that I have since dismantled, and that I've let go of, because it's not, I don't need it anymore. I don't need to be fake anymore. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
to, it's like, prime example, Sherri from 20 years ago or 10 years ago, or gosh, even 8 years ago, you'd invite me to a dinner party. Oh, Celene's invited me to a dinner party. Yay, how great. And you made real bad chicken, girl. Okay. It's dry. I can barely swallow it.
Oof.
But I'm at that dinner party and you're watching me eat it. And you ask me, like, did you like the chicken? Oh, yeah, it was great. Thanks so much for inviting me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Oftentimes people say, well, that person's just brutally honest, but really, realistically, they're brutal. So
Mm-hmm.
when you go from a stance of like being completely fake and never addressing your own needs and never addressing like your discomfort because you're a people pleaser, because you are masochistic or self-defeating in the way that I was, you put yourself in very uncomfortable positions because you don't want to hurt other people. So of course you're going to be like, oh great, I can't wait to make you that chicken again. And then what's going to happen? I'm going to come over next week. You're going to make the same fucking chicken and I am going to be choking it down in the same way when all I have to do is go, I don't really like that dish, but I appreciate so much that you invited me and this was so lovely. And then the next time you're going to make something different. And all I had to
Mm-hmm.
do was talk about what my needs were in a kind way. And learning tact is important, people. Because we want the honesty, but learning tact is also
Yes.
nice.
Yes. Yes.
But for me, it's like, when you think about a scene, okay, of an old movie or black and white scene, and you see this dapper fellow wearing a jacket, and you see this gorgeous woman that's wearing heels and this beautiful dress, and they're walking arm in arm, and you can see the scene in your mind. And they're walking through a park, and they walk up to a mud puddle. Okay, classic movies. The gentleman would maybe take off his jacket and lay it over the mud puddle so you don't get those darling shoes wet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the girl walks over the mud puddle in the jacket, and it's just a really lovely, caring scene. I was the jacket.
Mm.
I was the jacket for a very long time. For a very long time. And I was so scared of disrupting anything or having anyone hurt. And so many of you are hearing me say that and going, oh God, I'm the jacket too. And for me, I lived a life primarily centered on fear of disrupting anyone else, that I put myself in really shitty situations and very dangerous situations that I couldn't get out of, that I didn't know how to get out of, that I didn't have the autonomy to even think that it was possible to get out of. And I do now. And, trying to unravel the mess that I created out of fear. It's been a hell of a journey. It's been a hell of a journey. And unfortunately, because of that, it hurt a lot of people. It hurt a lot of people. And that's exactly what I was trying so hard to prevent.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that and for your
Yeah.
vulnerability and honesty. Okay, folks, like if you that was beautiful. Everything that you just said, the analogy, just and I can see it in Sherri's eyes. Also, folks, this is very intentional in terms of you not being able to see Sherri because her words are so profound as you are hearing. And I hope people can recognize, again, the validation that you are offering. You just saw me also get choked up
Mm.
when you said that about the jacket.
Mm.
And that is the truth. Children who've been abused, especially, we just naturally figure out how to people please so that we don't continue getting hurt.
Yep.
That's what I keep hearing from you of like, well, I'm going to conform because I don't want to disrupt this. I am going to do this just like, the chicken analogy and girl,
Because you hurt other people less, but you're hurting yourself.
self.
That's what
Right.
self-defeating
Yep.
is.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And so having to unlearn that because that is what? That's also survival mode.
Right.
You have been in survival mode constantly. And people don't realize what that actually means. I think for people, it's like, oh, great, you have your good days and your bad days. No, when you are not able to recognize that trauma that's living inside of you, you do start going into these areas again of like people pleasing, and that's so important for folks to really take a beat and think about. And again, and how that draws you to particular partners. And same, like up until finding my husband, almost every single relationship I ever had with a man was in some capacity really awful.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just like you, I'm going to conform so that he likes me. I'm going to do this because I can't lose him. I can't
Oh,
be
girl,
them.
yeah, but they also know that. So you're a
Mm-hmm.
target.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know how to groom that one. Great.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah,
And
right?
I didn't really understand that. I didn't understand that like getting this like confidence and like I grew up with a very underinflated ego.
Yeah,
And so like learning how to find a balance and get a little bit more confidence in myself
right.
and learn how to heal that. Now it's like I'm not groomable. I'm not groomable.
Mm-hmm. Ugh,
And that's a gift that I want to give to so many women because it gives us so much strength, you know, and it gives us
yeah,
the capacity to have the protection that we're seeking. We just don't have the tools to do it in a way where it's effective.
yeah.
And yeah, and I wanted to piggyback. I took a little note here, right? So I had this incredibly profound moment with my therapist, which if anyone has watched the HBO documentary, it's Dr. Diggs, and he's like one of the leading experts in personality disorder, and his work is so incredible. The modalities that he uses are really phenomenal, and he teaches you the difference between mental illness and the difference between personality disorder. There's like a permanence
Mm,
of mental illness, right? Some things that need maybe assistance through medication, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, things like that. There's a permanence to them. Personality disorder is based on trauma, as we know, and it's dismantleable. You just got to put in the work. So it's all about defense
yeah,
structures and choices and unraveling your trauma. And that's the category that I fit into, which has just been so fascinating. And one of the things that I have on a sign in my house that I tell myself every day, people get better faster when you treat them well.
mm,
People get better faster when you treat them well.
wow,
And um, I am here to tell you that could not be a truer statement and remains to be true. And I am not talking about coddling. I am talking about being treated well, not
yeah,
abuse.
mm,
And I had this moment with him that was so profound, and I write about it in my book as well. And I hope anyone going through trauma, you'll find yourself in this book. And it's steeped so much in therapy about how I went from someone who relied on dishonesty and was a fake person to authenticity and how I got there. Um, but one of these moments that I had with Dr. Diggs is we were talking about that suffering that we were just talking about, right? Where
mm-hmm,
you take a person, that's the jacket,
mm-hmm,
okay, and we allow ourselves to suffer. And I was explaining an experience to him, and a lot of women go through this of like, I'm just going to give in
yeah,
to him, to his, we were talking about sexual trauma. If I just
mm-hmm.
give in, it's over faster, right? Have we all
Correct.
been there?
Yes.
Time
Yep.
or two.
Yep.
When we have intimate relationships, and I was trying to process my relationship to sexual trauma. And I was telling him, well, if I just give in and if I just say, then I suffer less and it's over faster and then he'll be okay and he won't punish me, right? We've all been through the pressure that we get from the opposite sex or maybe even the same sex. We've all been through pressure when it comes to that. And I was explaining the story to Dr. Diggs and saying, like, if I just give in, then I'll suffer less because he won't punish me and I won't suffer. And he took a breath and he did that long pause that he does very well. And he very delicately said, but aren't you already suffering? So, what you're trying to do is you're trying to prevent another person from harming you to suffer. But aren't you suffering still? And it was like my entire world completely imploded around me. And he just
Yeah.
got quiet and waited for me to take that in. And I'm like, oh my God, I am. Yeah, I am. So then why is your suffering not allowed and less than the retaliation of the suffering? How does that compute? And I was like, stop talking, I don't want to hear it. My God,
I've been
my
there.
entire world just imploded. I don't know who I am anymore. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And it was, it's like there's these golden nuggets that we get, right? And I got that from you. I got a golden nugget that was just so profound and it was so amazing. And it was that moment of like, oh my God, why am I continuing to run towards these people that are determined to misunderstand me when I have people like you and I have other women that are going to listen to this and go, oh my God, that happened to me. And I totally understand. What am I doing? Why am I like trying to like defeat the narrative and change like I'm done. I'm not, that's not helpful. That's not
It
helpful
really
with
is.
people that are just determined to continue to hurt me, harm me, hate me, and judge me and misunderstand me.
Yeah. Which is why I'm such a fierce protector of yours. And I've gotten into arguments with people because of that. And again, you are so freaking intelligent and
Thank you.
beautiful speaker. Um, and that's what I mean. Like being able to observe you in the documentary
Mm.
and then our own separate interactions and conversations, the ability for you to recognize these things and then speak it is massive. This is groundbreaking. You are history. And history is going to remember what you are doing and what you're pushing through. I, the first time I heard your story, yeah, there was a lot of confusion. But there was one question that I kept coming back to. Why would somebody fake a kidnapping? Why would somebody ask to abuse their body in a way that would be like, ding, 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 you, I'm sorry, but any like logical person would sit there and be like, I'm sorry, you want me to do what to you?
Mhm.
This sounds like a cry for help. Let me take you to
Like,
the
honey, let's make
hospital.
some phone calls, right?
Right, right. Like,
Yeah, if I mean, like, you have to put yourself in that situation. If you're my friend and I ask you to do that, like, you would make some phone calls, right?
exactly.
You would not do that. And if you do, what does that say about you as a
You,
person?
correct, correct. Right.
And for me, it's like I can debate my case all day long. And I wish I had more knowledge than I did when the plea agreement happened because, I was so okay. Boundary, Sherry. Gotta keep it tight here. Uh, can't really talk about my marriage. However, I was very in a bubble. Didn't how do I word this? Access. I didn't have access in the way that I do now.
Okay.
Um,
Love it.
so it my case was very much a trial by media, but I didn't get to defend myself, right? So when we think
Hmm.
about trial in our minds, you have prosecutor and you have your own defense attorney and all this stuff. And then you go through the like breakdown of like, well, that doesn't work and this works, and you convince a jury and all these other things. And the jury very much is the viewers, right? But I didn't get a trial. I signed a plea agreement, and the plea agreement, statistically, 98% of federal cases conclude with plea agreements. How can that be? How can that be? I will tell you, because in federal cases, it's about their incentive, and their incentives are to close the case and have success. So what do? They bully you with these tactics of coercive control, meaning here's a plea agreement. Okay. If you don't sign this, you're going to prison for 20 years. And we're going to create all of these charges that we will tack on if you don't sign this. And like the documentary pointed out, there was a moment where we went back and forth and back and forth, and I advocated for myself as much as I possibly could, but it was in the government's hands. Now, if we would have went to trial, it would have been very different. It would have been very different because you would have gotten to see the bits and pieces of evidence that support my case, the evidence that's missing, and the evidence that they just opinionated about and then relied on the framing and the microphone of the media to conclude their case. Has anyone ever seen my rape kit, my SART exam? Anyone? Nope. Never seen it. They've never seen the results. They've never seen what my statement was during that time. They've never put that in the media, but they put the photographs of my naked, brutalized body, and then they frame it in a way where Sherri Papini has no voice. We're going to take that from her by saying she asked for it. Well, who said I asked for it? James Reyes. Oh, okay. Where's the evidence to say that I consented?
Yep.
Where is it? There is none. Mm-hmm. Where is my drug test results? They exist. Why is that not part of my case? Why is that not out there? And why can't I, the victim, have access to that? Why is the government keeping my rape exam away from me? Why are they keeping my records of my medical examination away from me? Why can I not access that? Because I signed a plea agreement. That's why. And they take what happened to my body, and because I was so afraid for a myriad of reasons to not give up James's name, that they frame it now that I am a liar, that everything that comes out of my mouth is a lie, and that because my captor said I asked for it, that somehow makes it okay, and you completely dismiss what is right in front of your eyes, which is I cannot put a footprint on my back. I cannot have bite marks on my inner thigh. I can't burn my shoulder myself. I cannot create the injuries that you have seen everywhere in the media, and it is dismissed because he said that I asked for it. He said that I asked for it. Where is the evidence of my consent? And in the preliminary hearing that I had, the reports say that there's no motive. The line states, we still cannot conclude Miss Papini's motive. Oh my God, but that's not anywhere. Why is no one talking about that? That even the government. And when I was in court, the government said that they wanted to give me 8 months. 8 months. Partial home confinement and partial incarceration. And it was the judge that sentenced me to 18 months. It was the judge who was irritated that his courtroom was full of spectators. It was the judge that wanted to throw the book at me to make an example, not to fake your own kidnapping. But that is not what happened. And I did not get a trial. I signed a plea agreement. And what that means is you eliminate your ability and your capacity to fight for yourself, because who wins the United States of America versus Sherri Papini? I was going up against the federal government with no money and no resources and no time. No time. And also facing real prison time for a very long time, while the person that did this to my body got immunity. And when I went to prison, I heard from so many women this charge that I'd never heard of before. What is a conspiracy theory? That's a criminal charge that you get years for. What the heck does that mean? I had no idea what that meant. I'd never even gotten a speeding ticket. Now all of a sudden I'm going to federal prison. And conspiracy theory means, for example, you're with a man who deals drugs. You happen to be riding in the car with him. You don't know that he's actually dealing drugs. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if there's any knowledge on your behalf, you get hit with it, and then you're charged with the crime of conspiracy. Similar to, like, treason or something like that. There's 5 people involved in my criminal case. 5 that were interviewed, that had extensive knowledge that I was there, and not a single charge impeding an investigation, conspiracy, or nothing. This restitution that I owe for the investigation because I didn't come forward because I was too scared, it's all on me. And I was sentenced to 18 months in prison, and there are 5 other people involved in my criminal case that gave testimony. So the government is very much aware that there's 5 other people involved in my criminal case. And I was incarcerated with women who got years for a conspiracy charge because they were too afraid to name their husbands or give them up in any way. And they're in prison for years.
Right.
And so I started to learn about this conspiracy charge, and went, how is this possible? How does this happen? How is it that 10% of our country, and this is statistics that it's because we go from start to finish. How is it that 10% of people that are incarcerated pre-trial are completely innocent? And then when they go through the trial, they're found innocent and then they're subsequently released. How is that? It's because law enforcement officers are there to catch the bad guys. And the way that they do interrogation, it's not victim focused, it's bad guy focused. Understandable. Police officers make arrests, and then they go, cool, the judicial system is going to figure this out. The judicial system is going to figure out whether you're guilty or you're innocent. And that is why 10% of people that are in incarceration that go through the pretrial services, they get deemed as innocent. In my case, I signed a plea agreement. I had the entire United States federal government on my back. It's not like Sherri Papini stood a chance. You don't beat the feds. You don't. And now I am here, owing $300,000 in restitution still, completely buried underneath it, and 2 felonies. Forever. And because it's blown up in the media, it's like a life sentence for me. It is a life sentence of being labeled a liar. Even though what happened to me was very real. The danger I was in was very real. And I'm very much a survivor. I don't want to call myself a victim because I'm so far beyond that now. But what happened to me is very real, and it's framed in a way for you not to believe me. That's what they want. They want you not to believe me because they don't want to be wrong. And I think you've experienced it when you debate with people. They don't want to be wrong, because what does that look like? What does it look like when you find out that you're harming someone that has gone through harm? What does it mean about you to recognize that you were bullying someone who has been through something very real, but you're allowing the facade of the media to allow you to continue to humiliate me? And I am the first person that will take all the accountability in the world because I've done the work. And it shows. It shows that I've done the work.
You have.
It shows. But I'm done over apologizing. because I'm not self-defeating anymore. And I am done allowing people to continue to beat me down who do not understand what happened and who do not want to be wrong and who do not want to see that there is more to the story. And oh my God, it was 8 years of people making stories about me without me. What does that look like? What does it mean for someone else to represent you in a negative way without you participating in any way?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And it's heartbreaking.
Very long run on.
No, it's your truth. This is what sets you free, is speaking your truth. And I want to make sure that you know you're in a safe space here. And I believe you. I stand with you. And yeah, I wish folks would take the time to sit with this and really think about that logically. You're right, 98% plea agreements. And then also taking that as far as to say, okay, but then now women, being put through this. And just as you shared, these other women who were in prison didn't want to expose, right, their husbands or partners. If that doesn't, a red flag not going off for
Right.
people, like, I don't
And
know how else to
why?
explain it. Right,
Why?
right,
Why? Because we're
right.
scared of the retaliation.
Exactly.
And any woman that's ever been in your position or my position, you are so terrified of what retaliation looks like. Hello,
Mm-hmm.
Hulu. I mean, um, the retaliation is so real and it's so visceral and it's all consuming when you don't see that, because a lot of survivors, we don't see the way out. We don't see that things are going to get better. We don't, because I mean, it's even like my plea agreement too. We have a country that is more educated on what coercive control is, and we are now in the judicial system getting more clear on what emotional abuse looks like and getting more clear on the parameters of emotional abuse because not everyone gets bruises and black eyes and all of that. So we are more informed on what emotional abuse looks like, but we have a country that's built on coercive control when it comes to our judicial system. How can that be?
Right.
How can it be that we're trying to educate people and change the judicial system, and at the same time, the statistics show that they're incentivized and they perpetuate coercive control?
Yeah. And this isn't new,
No,
right? Like when
no,
we think
God, no.
about like the witch trials, you know what I mean? People claiming that these women were witches, but because they couldn't
But they
control
were just
them.
healers.
Yeah, and that is what you're saying is so important to identify, and I think that's a lot of what I've had to sit with as well,
Mm,
and why your story hit so differently by
mm,
that point from hearing it from you. And even though there were still a lot of unethical decisions made in the HBO project, which I will gladly go on record because I'm sorry, but when we're talking about lie detector tests, the polygraph test, do you know, folks, that that's not even like logical? Like that is bananas. That's still a thing. You cannot your body, okay, your body is going to react regardless. And if you are a trauma survivor and now being put in this restricted, and I think you said that to me, like
mm.
having to put yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, for what? For what? What? And I this is why it was like I took a break from the podcast, rightfully so, to reset my brain. But the minute that, I was like, okay, do I sit down with you? Do I even attempt to ask you to sit on this podcast and we talk about this? But are people going to listen?
Mm.
Are they going to understand? And like I said, this isn't no, this isn't new. This isn't new at all. And you then throw in the media. You then throw in social media and everything else and crafting that. But you are coming to an area where I really want to touch on because when we talk about media and consent, there is so much harm that happens with survivor stories that are taken and retold without care or consideration, right? Like that is so prevalent.
That's not trending, so.
No, right. So it like truly, and images of your body were published without your consent. Also in Hulu's documentary, and then later your story was also scripted into a Lifetime film where Jamie King then went and portrayed you. If it feels okay and safe to go there, I'd love for you to share what that experience has been like.
When when the Lifetime movie came out, I was in prison. Um, wh- uh, you know, prison was a very profound experience for me. And I am currently being suppressed in what I would really like to say about that. I cannot currently say that. However, I will say prison was very profound for me. And when the Lifetime movie came out when I was in prison, there's like TV rooms and everyone has their own chair. Your chair is assigned to your cell, and you take the chair and you put it in the TV room and it has your cell number in it. When that was I mean, when you think about like your life, okay, and your life is made famous and is blown up everywhere, and you say the word premiere, what comes to your mind in a normal sense?
Like red carpets,
Right,
glitz, glam, the whole bit.
right, right. Maybe not everyone in prison excited for the drama of it. I mean, every single chair was in the TV room for this goddamn premiere. And um I was faced with a choice. Um Watch it or don't watch it. And I mean, it was cycled over and over and over again in prison. And the tagline, to get everybody's attention is the branding, right? Because everybody just loves that. And Jamie King's on the TV going, "Do it, I deserve it." And that's what cycled over and over and over again on every TV screen. And of course, all of the women are like, some of them horrified. Other of them were entertained by it. Some of them had an excuse to be shitty about it. But the majority of women were like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening? And watching it in prison, it was like all of these women that went in the TV room that had an expectation of it being like fun for them because it was like this quote celebrity moment. And Sherri Papini, who's the film is about, is actually sitting next to me. Holy shit. But we all ended up crying. And we all ended up, the people I was sitting next to, they were holding my hand and they were holding me because it's like, and it's, like the start, they go into ripped from the headlines. And it's like my entire life is just being diluted by bullshit. And it's, I had women who were like screaming in the TV room, "That's not how that goes." And the opening scene is me having sex on film, being portrayed as having sex on film. And I have to watch this with a bunch of women in prison. And how devastating it was. And then, to hear that this woman, quote, studied me based on headlines who'd never spoken to me before. Um, and being portrayed like a doll, not even a person, just like a character, and how infuriating it was, and how many women were defensive over it and protective about it, knowing my story and knowing the truth about my story and understanding my story. And then the coverage afterwards, was just horrendous. And there was a moment where Dr. Phil, who, the Jerry Springer of, quote, we're going to quote, air quotes, mental health,
Fuck Dr. Phil.
first human being in the world, he had a show about me. And
Of course he did.
he said that, and this is where things actually changed for me in prison, which I find really fascinating. He said, well, she's not even in real prison. She's in fake prison because she's at a minimum security camp. And I mean, the women he pissed off in there
Yeah.
in prison,
Yeah.
who are sitting watching a guy with a purple tie go, she's not really in prison. Like, with
Good
what
hell.
experience, Dr. Phil, do you have to opine about what real prison, quote, means and whatever? And, and then he gave his opinion about that I wasn't punished enough. And I'm like, oh my God, I was in prison for an entire year. That means every holiday, every birthday, every anniversary, everything. And I was lucky because I got months and not years, and I was in there with so many women that I'd gotten years. But how dare you? And watching the outrage of these other inmates go like, how could you possibly say that this is not prison? This is fake prison. And then the Hulu thing happened, and it was constructed while I was in prison, which means that I didn't really have the capacity to, when you see the documentaries and they have the black cards, we asked blah, 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 and they responded blah, blah, blah. I was in prison, and then I was in the halfway house, and I didn't have as much opportunity as I wish that I would have had to respond, to react. And at the time I had purposeful silence as well. I was gaining strength and I was gaining opportunity, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to tell my story and how I was going to come forward. And the fact of the matter, when you're on government terms, when you're the property of the Bureau of Prisons, you have certain parameters that you need to follow when it comes to speaking about your criminal case and so on and so forth. And boy, did they take that and they ran with the opportunity. And to be portrayed in a film that is created by the people that hate you the most, it's I have no words. I'm trying to think of the words. I have no words. To even go as far as taking my voice and AIing it to force me into saying something that I didn't say, or reading something that I didn't write it.
Yeah.
That was crazy to me. Like, you made me into a claymation doll and you AI'd my voice to get me to say what you want me to say. And you knowingly put false allegations in a film. You knowingly produced a film with false allegations. And then when I tried to go to court, because I'm in prison, because I'm on probation, because I'm in the halfway house, I reached the statute of limitations for that. Boy, was that tailored. Let me tell you. And did I have a slander and defamation case? Yes, absolutely did. Absolutely did. When you make false allegations like that, and people that are facing family court, it's just what they do. which is really sad. It's just sad that that's just kind of what happens. The person that files first has a tendency to make false allegations. And I didn't really understand that until I got my amazing attorney, which we've all seen, Chase Kinney. She's a warrior woman, and I love her and her dad Van so much. They're so profound and so amazing. I have an incredible team. But what I didn't know is family court. She said it very simply to me. You know that there's abuse or there is a partner in one end of the spectrum that's very toxic, because if they weren't, you wouldn't see them in family court. If you didn't have abuse in your marriage, you wouldn't be in family court. You would amicably do things outside of court.
Yeah.
So for any of you going through family court, for any of you dealing with any of the crap that's in any aspect of family court, I hear you. You're not alone. And you're not the only one that gets false allegation claims and nonsensical bullshit from the opposing party to continue a narrative that's just not real. To win.
Mm-hmm.
To win.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Sherri.
I can't really talk about my court case, and I can't really talk about any of that stuff, even though it is splattered all over the news, which I think is pretty absurd. It's pretty absurd that even though I have petitioned time and time and time again to take the cameras out, because in my local community, what other family court and custodial trials are you seeing cameras in? This is ridiculous.
Right.
But they don't care. And so as much as I'm trying desperately to keep the cameras out and keep the public away from this, and this is not about my criminal case, they still are there. And even though the judge is trying to keep it sealed and she's not releasing the date of my trials, people will still get on there and sit in the back of the court and make sure they report it just to make sure that it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The anger and rage I have in my body just hearing this it's disgusting. Straight up. I'm just gonna call it what it is. And again, I just keep coming back to the exploitation. You have been exploited beyond belief. Really put all of this together. And so being able to have these conversations be a part of your narrative now, I hope that gives that power back.
I have so much to say, but I can't.
I know.
So much to say, but I can't. And that's what feels awful. It feels awful because I have so much that I want to say and I can't.
I know. But the day that you do, you know who you're gonna call, because we are gonna just break it down. And you're Sherri, it hurts to hear these things. And again, and it's like people don't take any of this into account.
A lot of people do. Now they are.
And now they are.
A lot of people do, and it's like, when you do great things, when you do profound things and important things, you're gonna get shit on.
Yep.
No matter how pure, no matter how wonderful, no matter how lovely, no matter what, when you do something valuable and important, there are always going to be the negative comments and all of that. And I mean, you've experienced that as well.
Yeah.
And the negativity is not what it's not what pushes me forward. If it might fuel me, sure, but that's not what any of my life is based on anymore.
So with that,
I didn't really understand like clickbait. Right, that was just like a non-legal word to me until my story ended up on a comic book review website.
Comic book?
Yeah, like he reviews like comic books and coins and stuff like that, and then he put my like a crazy salacious headline and then put it on his page to advertise for it. Why? Because we need those likes and we need those clicks, and when you get more interaction, then you get more what?
Money, money, money,
That's right.
visibility.
That's right. And boy, was I targeted for that. And it was on a comic book review website. And I went, oh my God, what the hell is my story doing on this comic book review website? And then it was like that nugget, right? Oh my God, I'm clickbait. I've been reduced to clickbait. I've
Yes.
been reduced to a headline. And why can't there be a shift? Because that's not how the media market works. It's just not. And on occasion, we'll get that, like Denise Huskins, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it's like it blows up all over the place. And even law enforcement officers were saying, we don't believe her. And her story's crazy. And yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Ski masks and kidnapping. And then he just lets her go. And everyone's like, no, we don't believe you. We don't believe you at all. As it turns out, she got so lucky. And he got caught doing something else. And there was a very, very brave officer that helped her. I don't have that. I didn't have that. I don't have a brave officer defending me who's looking at the evidence and going, holy shit, he didn't have consent. Where's the consent? And that's fine because I get to be brave for myself now.
Yeah.
I don't need anyone to be strong for me. I am strong now. I am strong now. And I am saying there was no consent. There is no consent. And do we really live in a society where a man can harm a woman and get away with it by saying, well, she asked for it? Well, she asked for it.
No, bitches.
Right.
That is not the reality.
Well, why do you talk to her, Celene? She faked her own kidnapping. Did she?
Yeah.
Or is that what the government said so that they could get her to sign a plea agreement?
Yeah. And also recognizing trauma responses. Because this is massive when it comes to what you've gone through. And just as you shared earlier, you don't remember that moment of getting into the car. Why, folks? Why is that? Because she just literally probably what the fuck is happening, what the fuck is happening. And when you go through such an alarming amount of trauma, boom, your memory is wiped. I literally forgot like half of the things that happened in my assault until I got my report 13 years later. And I was like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. Because I fucking forgot, and I'm using air quotes, no, because my brain was trying to protect me. That's what happens. That's why these things are fragmented. That's why, like, when people, I have been so vilified because, well, she didn't say X, Y, and Z, and when she first told her story, oh, now she's throwing in this aspect. Oh, no, it's because my repressed memories, they come back. And when they come back, do you know, I'm saying, do you know? Not you, listeners. Do you know how terrifying that is, actually, to then have a memory come back and it's like, oh, fuck.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that did happen, right?
And I've tried everything. I've tried meditation and hypnosis and
Right.
EMDR, and I've tried everything to try and access that memory. And forever, I've been like, okay, fine. Say I got in the car. I don't care. I don't
Right.
care if you're on the side of like, well, she got in the car. Okay, great. Whatever.
Right.
I don't
Right.
didn't consent to go to Southern California though. Was there a plan to meet up with him? Yeah. 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 Didn't say I wanted to go to Southern California, though. There is no evidence to conclude that there was any plan in the way that he says. James Reyes is saying that there was a plan. There
Right.
was a plan that I also confessed to that there was, right? And we see it in the stupid made for movie TV fucking polygraph, whatever. I carry a lot of shame with that because for a very long time, I continued to blame myself. Well, it's my fault. I was going to meet up with him to break everything off with him and
Mm-mm.
end everything. This is my fault. I did invite him to Northern California. Never said that I wanted to go with him. Did I entertain the potential of that? Yes, because I wanted to keep him engaged with it. I've never strayed from that, and I have no memory of it. But for me, even if the memory is that I got into the car or the memory is that I did not want to get into the car, neither of those facts in my case matter because I did not
Mm-hmm.
consent to going to Southern California. And when they interrogated James Reyes, he said I was just sleeping in the back of the car.
What the
I
fuck?
was I was sleeping in the back of the car. So how is it that there's no memory for me and from the opinion of the FBI that I had been planning to fake my own kidnapping, I'm running from my life and did this huge disappearing act, which is the opinion of the federal government, and I'm sleeping in the back of the car?
Right.
And I'm
Okay.
there the entire time, and that's what he said in his interrogation interview. No, no, no. Something is
Mm-hmm.
not right there. And also, I've never done drugs in my entire life. I've never had
Yeah.
any substance abuse experience at all. And now all of a sudden, I'm found with a myriad of drugs in my system. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Aren't we in this society now where we understand if you're under the influence that eliminates your consent? Am I
Ding, 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 ding,
right?
ding, ding.
Don't we live in a society where
Yeah.
we've stopped blaming the victims in college for having something to drink because we've educated our men that that eliminates your consent? Also, when you're in a position of power, it eliminates your consent. So if you're saying to investigators, you had me chained to a wall and you boarded up the windows, but that was okay because I asked for it,
Right.
and now I'm prosecuted and I'm sent to prison all because I didn't come forward. I didn't. I was too scared and I lied. And I was terrified to tell the truth because in every single interrogation, someone was sitting next to me that I couldn't be truthful with. I just
Right.
couldn't. I couldn't tell him the truth. I was too scared.
Yeah. Mm.
And we fixate, it's interesting, Celene, as I go through all of these interviews. Oh my God. And I got mean girled in this one interview. I said her name. And for me, saying your name is a sign of respect. That's how I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised using your name is my way of offering you a sign of my respect. And I did that in an interview. I used her name in the same way that I used yours. And she bullied me about it afterwards. And she said, oh, she's just trying to manipulate me because she said my name in the interview. And I'm like, oh my, oh my God.
Yeah.
So now I just was totally like triggered by me using her name and going, oh, okay, well, somebody just criticized me for using her name in an interview for a sign of respect. How silly that I'm thinking about saying your name in this interview, and how silly that I let this woman who's horrific and clearly needs to do her own work quite a lot manage how I feel for granting you a sign of respect by repeating your name. That somehow that's what they do. They frame everything that I say of like, well, she's lying or she's manipulative. And when you frame that, it makes it easier to swallow that I was raped and tortured and drugged for 22 days because you're fixated on this drama part of it instead of the facts of the case. Because if we say the facts of the case and then you mean girl me,
Not great.
it's not necessarily a good look. But you want to get away with mean girling me, so what do? She's manipulating me. She's a liar. She used my name, so she was trying to bond with me or something, is exactly what she said.
Wow. Yeah.
I went, wow. And I just talked to her about what it felt like to be chained to a wall.
Offering details that no one is even really entitled to. And because you feel like that could help somebody else, then you're vilified.
Well, what happened to me is preventable. What happened to me is preventable, and that's what I'm going for here. You know, we can put in the work to not put ourselves in very dangerous situations when we build ourselves up enough that our eyes are open, right? And we're consistently no longer devaluing ourselves enough to put us in the environment of a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
Not all dangerous situations are in your control, and that's not what I'm saying at all. But my yardstick, my measuring stick was way off.
Yeah.
I had no language around it. I had no validation around it. I had no understanding because I hadn't put in the work, and I had no greater understanding in the way that I do now. And just like you, gosh, do we want to yell it from the mountaintops? Like, because we don't want anyone to go through or experience a second, a moment of what we did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To have your body
Especially,
defiled like that.
and being drugged. That's something that you and I have in common.
Right.
And I didn't have the drug factor until years and years later because I kept coming back to, yes, I drank in high school, not to the degree like, that I was vomiting, but why is it that I drink this much vodka and I'm violently vomiting? Violently. And I didn't have that component until I watched a series, May I Destroy You? And I believe that's what it's called, on HBO. Michaela Cole, her story. And she was drugged. She was raped. And it was in that moment that I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. This is it. This is the missing component. Because I kept coming back to, why? This would be the equivalent of like 2 shots. Why am I violently running to the bathroom and then I started blacking out? That part. Because as I later have shared, then I started abusing alcohol way later in life. But I wasn't blacking out like I was then. So why is that? What was I actually drinking? And then it was like, aha, that part, right? And so anyone who's listening, the fact that there are images of Sherri's body out there showing what was done to her.
Well, and I want to take that just a step further because I've never had the opportunity to do an interview in the way that you're doing it with me. I want to say that in the images that were allowed in the really terrible documentary, they're personal photos. And we all know now we're a lot more educated about revenge porn and people,
Yes.
ex-boyfriends doing stuff like that. There are very personal photos that were given to that director, and there is a Lego size blur over my vagina that you can still see the side of. There is barely any coverage. You can see the side of my breast. Those are not crime photos. Those are photos. Those are personal. Those are personal. And she allowed it. She allowed it. Why? What was the purpose of that? What was the purpose of that? Because you're fascinated with the injuries on my body. His toys are in the background. In a bathroom. And you think that that's okay, and you think it's okay to AI my voice to get me to say something that you want me to say, and now I can't stand up for myself or defend myself. And you see in the HBO film, I sent a cease and desist. I tried, and they hit me back with this anti-slap bullshit, and if you go against us, you're gonna have to pay for our lawyer fees, and bullies.
And this is
I did not consent to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have every right to call this out. Because, like I said, it's the amount of re-victimization, re-traumatization.
Boy, did they make money off of that. You know?
Yeah.
Millions and millions and millions of people tuned in for that film. And they still do. You know, and even through the HBO experience that where I thought it was going to be something, and then it turned out not to be what I thought it was going to be. And there's so many beautiful things about the film and so many horrific things about the film, because again, this goes through a network. It's not tailored to be trauma informed in the work that you're trying to do now, which thank God, because we need more parameters and more rules around that to support victims being exploited and turned into entertainment. And it's why I wrote my book, because the book is my voice and the book is my story, and the book is not created for entertainment. It is anchored in healing, and it is structured with mental health, and it is centered around embracing other survivors.
Mic drop. Because the beauty in that, the beauty of nobody manipulating your words, that's why I said to you, you know, and folks, in our pre-interview, it was very clear how just you have been crafted and shoved into a box. And I kept saying to Sherri, this is your opportunity, really, to just lay it all out. I'm not here to edit anything that you are saying unless you later tell me, hey, I want to strike what I said here. Great, then I'm going to do that. I'm going to honor that. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. And I just want to go on record and say the reason that I left television, integrating back into filmmaking, independent filmmaking, is for the exact reasons as you said. I do not want to be bound by a network. I do not want fucking notes brought my way. I don't want anybody telling me what I can and cannot share when it comes to my trauma survivors that I uplift. This is why my Bundy project is not pushed out to the world. You don't think for 2 seconds that networks and people were coming at me every single direction? You bet your ass they did. And you bet your ass I got exploited in that, because I kept trusting that people actually believed my vision. And so it has taken me almost 9 years to figure out, how do I do this? How do I actually do this so it doesn't feel like exploitation? How do I do this to make sure that this is in collaboration? How do I make sure I'm not re-traumatizing, re-victimizing, or doing anything that is actually going to harm my participants. Because it's voices like yours who remind me why I got into storytelling in the first place. Have I made my mistakes? You absolutely fucking bet I have. Do you think I've learned from those mistakes now? You bet I have. Why did I become a mental health coordinator? Because of what you experienced. Because of what my other trauma survivors experienced. What I had to co-sign my name on a project that I was lied to, that I was manipulated as a producer. We're gonna do X, Y, and Z for your survivors. We're gonna really empower them. No, bitch, no, you didn't. You created exactly what I speak out against. I'm over it. Like I said, I am so over it, and it's hard because I do love parts of this industry, but that's rooted in the artistry. That's rooted in again, storytelling. And so watching true crime documentaries and watching the HBO documentary, like I said, as soon as the traditional tropes started coming into your doc, that's when I started looking at my phone. Was like, I'll check my Instagram comments or like whatever, I'm going to disassociate until we come back to you, to your therapist, because that's what matters to me, is your truth. And so being able to read between the lines, and I think I even said to you in one of our first interactions, I said, I have some feelings about that doc. And then, I shared that with you, and sure enough, you were like, yeah, you're right. And the sole reason I became a mental health coordinator was because of this. And to make sure that you are protected, you are honored, your boundaries are honored, your consent matters, all of that. All of that. You deserve that. Because this shit is hard. And like I said, I know firsthand how my story has been manipulated. I know what I said in those interviews. I don't remember saying it like that. I don't think I said that.
Ooh, and like also, you're not allowed to be angry and you're not allowed to put these interviewers in check. So many times I wanted to be like, what the fuck did you just say to me? Are you serious? But like, can't do that. And if you do, then it's the soundbite. And then it's the and then it's like, oh my God, am I ever going to get away from like these tailored, boxed in interviews of like, no matter what, you're going to sit in that seat and well, you got to respect them because they're giving you a platform, blah, 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 blah. Am I ever going to get away from the seat that they want me to sit in?
Correct. Yep.
Now,
Yep.
I am sitting in my damn seat. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's because of you. That's because of your work. That's because you see that there's a need. Thank you.
There is a need. You're welcome. And like I said, it's because I know I've received a lot of scrutiny where people are like, she's like an ambulance chaser. She just goes and tries to. No, that's not what it is. It's because I read through the bullshit. And that is the God honest truth. So, with that, I want to turn the wheel. Now let's start talking up. Okay? So, along your journey, what moments or experiences have brought you the most support, comfort, or healing?
Oh, therapy is amazing. I love immersing myself in all different kinds of therapy modalities. When you're in oh God, these stupid parameters, I swear to God. When you're in a relationship where you have no autonomy, you tend to not have choices about who is in your world, right? So being able to have my parents back um, has been really amazing. Um, Getting to see my dad every day, getting to see my mom nearly every day, it's been monumental for me of like, and now I go back to like, I'm invited to the family parties and I'm going back to reunions and things like that, and um, tapping back into what it's like to have a family that's mine. Um, and my friends, I have so many friends that have been so incredible, especially throughout prison. I got so many letters from my friend group that I have here, and um, they're lovely. And I wish there would have been so many more of my friends in the film, but they weren't allowed to participate because couldn't have cheerleaders. And you know what's funny is there's different versions of the HBO film, and the one that's out of country, you see more. So there's more evidence, there's more
Wow.
interviews, and there's things that are not in the American version because it has to be modified to fit the sponsored commercials.
Mm,
There's
Yikes.
so many people that came together to support me for this film that walked through fucking hell for this film, and then put their lives on the line, and in terms of their time and their space and their scrutinization of being my friend, right? And then they didn't even get put in the film.
Wow.
And Mo, do you remember Mo from the
Yes.
film?
Yes.
Yeah, Mo's my girl. She's my homegirl. I love her to pieces. But they cut out all of her interview where they talk about our friendship, where she talks about why she chose to support me, how she chooses to support me, because the excuse I was given is it needs to be fair and balanced. It needs to not carry water for me, and it needs to not look like they are advocating for me. So they cut out, and woo boy, you don't want to piss off Mo. Mo was very pissed. She was not happy. She was not happy when she watched the film. As one of the first phone calls I got was Mo going, they interviewed me for this many hours and hours and hours and hours. And where is that? And I'm like, I don't know. She's like, they exploited me. They just wanted me as a prop for someone that was in prison. They put all these background things and images, and now I'm just the prisoner. And they didn't put any of the heartfelt stuff in there. And I'm like, I know, I'm so sorry. And I got phone calls from everybody else. I'm not even in it. They used my voice for the trailer, but I'm not in it. What the hell? And I'm like, I had absolutely no control over that, but I have an incredible support system that has got me through it. I have a lot of great friends and family now, and really tapped into every potential therapy modality as possible, because this is a lot for most people to be able to tolerate.
Yeah. That part.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I just want to at least say the little that Mo was in there, I didn't have to like hear everything she said because I could feel it and I could see it. And that was like another. I said to someone recently when I shared that we've been in communication, and I said, the way I pictured and envisioned Sherri after the people who were featured who spoke positively of her, that's Sherri. I was like, that is her. And I and I love that for you in that sense of like, again, you people will know and feel this energy from you. And the minute that like we got face to face in the pre-interview and I got to see the smile and I got to see your like little quirky this like I was like, this is the Sherri that I painted in my head. And that's her. That is Sherri. And truly, you're an amazing human. And I could not be more honored to be a part of this journey with you now and being able to help you lay that foundation. So, on the days that feel especially heavy or difficult, what practices or moments help you feel steady and cared for?
Mm.
Sounds like yoga is one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I live in a beautiful place. Northern California is absolutely beautiful. And being in the forest, being in the trees, focusing on breath work, focusing on yoga. Um, yeah, I would say going back to therapy, I mean, breaking down those walls of like learning how to validate myself and learning how
Yeah.
to love myself and learning how to understand what self-care actually means and what it looks like and what it is that I do that makes me feel good. That's not related to anyone else.
Mm. Isn't it powerful to, once you have that self awareness and then you think about your past, and sometimes I know for me, it's this light bulb moment of like, oh, it's because of X, Y, Z. And then stopping and sitting with it and kind of like unpacking those moments. And even though it's hard, it's liberating, really liberating. So
Yeah.
that resonates. I love that. But you are also stepping into some really important advocacy work, and I want to make sure to uplift, especially around supporting women entering the prison system and the ripple effects that this has on their families. Can you share more about this new work and what that means to you?
So it's fascinating because you have this experience as well, right? We need to have some form of authority when we like you becoming a mental health coordinator. There's lots of classes you have to take. You have to be certified. You have to do the whole blah 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 blah, blah, right?
Yep.
So I'm stepping into this support um, role that I want to do. But that means that I need to have some kind of authority in some way or another. So I'm taking the course for from Tim Story, right? He teaches you how to develop becoming similar to what he does, which is called life coaching. So I don't want it to be confused with like I'm not a therapist. I do not have a master's in psychology. However, I am getting an accreditation to become a coach to support folks that are in the system, pretrial services, sentencing, pre self surrender, or incarceration, not just for them, but for families as well. Because going through the system for me, I mean, all I did was Google, like, how do you prepare for prison? And of course, there's people out there that are like, I will charge you $3,000 a session and blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, it's just obnoxious. And then you have a pretrial services officer who, God bless her, but like, she's never spent a day in prison. And as much as she can prepare you, I mean, my mom went to the hospital because her health failed so much, being worried about her daughter in prison who's never gotten a speeding ticket in her life and all of these things. Families need support for women in the incarceration system. And it's not just the person because your entire life completely crumbles the minute that you're sentenced, even pretrial services. Um, you go through this huge existential crisis. And when you're in crisis, finding support is particularly difficult, especially with people who don't understand what you're going through. We need support going through the judicial process, going through court. We need support before, during, and after. And what I found in my research of it and preparing to launch the services that I'm going to provide for people is there's an exceptional amount of people that are at risk for self-harm. and that are completely uneducated about how the system works. Like my parents had no idea what commissary meant. They didn't know how to make sure that they provided for me while I was in prison. They didn't know how to find my address. I didn't know how to figure out the TrueLink system and all this language that you have no idea what I'm talking about. But other women need that support. And that is what I'm going to do, because our country has a huge systemic issue with incarceration and over incarceration, because the Bureau of Prisons, of course, is a business, and we can go on that rabbit hole later. But I want to support more families and give them more education around what's going to happen to you in incarceration and post incarceration, because you have to get back to not eating with a goddamn spork for a minute, and what it's like to not wear flip-flops in the shower again. And it's like this whole process that people need more care for. We need more care for it. And that is what I am looking to provide. And also becoming someone who can help people in crisis. We all know Sherri Papini has been through a crisis. And I want to be able to offer that type of support for people. So I am in the process of getting my certification to become a accredited life coach, to be able to have sessions with people in crisis that will be tailored for women in the incarceration system. But that does not mean that I won't offer services for other people within crisis.
Mm.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so
excited for you. This is transformative.
Mm-hmm.
It's rooted in care. It's rooted in just, isn't it amazing to take adversity and find what you can actually do with it? And it takes time. It takes healing. It takes so much. And for you to identify those things, because as soon as you started sharing this with me, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. Duh. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this seems pretty straightforward in what you're saying, and the intention behind it, considering families, just like you said, your parents didn't know what to do. What the hell is common?
Well, I even tried to call Victorville when they assigned me to the prison that I knew I was going to. I tried to call them and go, "Hi, I've never been in prison before. What do I do?" They hung up on me.
Oh, geez.
They don't care.
Wow.
You're still a person.
Yep.
You're still a person, and not every person that is forced into our system and doesn't have a successful way out does not mean that they are guilty. And even if they are, don't we all deserve help?
Yep.
Just because we've made a mistake.
Mm-hmm. Amen. So before I ask my last question, and then we will get into Sherri's rapid fire questions, so everyone can get to know Sherri outside of her journey. Thank you for everything that you have shared. I hope this moment in time feels cathartic, feels liberating, feels like reclaiming your voice, and I couldn't be more proud of you.
Thank you.
And I hope you continue feeling proud of yourself, because this is hard work. After hearing how long you had been in intensive therapy, it was like, yeah, it all starts coming together. And the fact that you have tried so many different types of practices to be able to navigate this just speaks to your resiliency, speaks to the beautiful human that you are at your core. And I cannot wait to see where this journey takes you. I know it's going to take time, and I know we talked about this not, on the mic, but you're going to get there, and I know you're going to get there, and I cannot wait. Because, like I said, being able to be a part of your journey in a small capacity is such an honor and such a privilege. And truly, I have faith in these next generations, finding that empathy, understanding that we are complex humans. I cannot stress that enough. And if you are sitting here vilifying for, again, trauma responses of Sherri's, I need you to think about your own self-awareness. Every single person is flawed.
Well, and that's just it. I'm not perfect. And the expectation that I have to be perfect to be a victim um I don't have words.
It's so fucked up.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
and I've never been someone who's like continued to try and say that I'm perfect. I'm over that. I'm over that. I know that I'm flawed and I know that I was flawed, but is your expectation that I have to have not had any life experience or have been perfect in every single way in order for you to see me as a victim?
Correct. And on that note, where can people get your book?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, sherripapinibook.com is where you can get it. It's also available on Amazon. We are going to be working on the audiobook, thank goodness, because everyone is requesting the audiobook.
I just got chills.
Yeah, I'm going to be reading my own, which is wonderful. And so we're working on that. When that's released, that'll be promoted as well. sherripapinibook.com is where you can get it. You can also get it on Amazon. However, there's a caveat to that. There are multiple different versions of my story where people are exploiting my story for money. So they've written their own version of my story where it's just like you buy this $5 book and then it's like newspaper articles in it. Oh, it's horrible. Mine is written by me, Sherri Papini. Sherri Papini doesn't exist. It's available on Amazon. Not that other garbage crap that people are trying to make money off of me with. It's available on sherripapinibook.com. Any support with the book is incredible, and I'm so honored. You can DM me. It's Sherri Papini Official on Instagram. I would be happy to sign a book for you. Would be happy to write you a little note if you purchase it through Instagram, sherripapinibook.com or Amazon.
And I will link that in the episode notes as
Thank
well.
you.
And yes, please, 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 just listen once that audiobook is out, but reading and really sitting with what you're sharing. And that's, again,
And gift it to someone. You know, if you have someone that's going through it, that has a story that's similar to mine or relates to mine, gift it to somebody.
Well, that's the perfect segue into this question. If someone is listening who may be in a similar place in their own journey, what words of care or encouragement would you want to offer them?
Give it just a little more. And what I mean by that is right when you feel like the entire world is crushing you, give it 5 more minutes. When you feel like you can't go on and that things are never going to change, give it just another second. Just give it a little more. Just give it a little more. I've had so many moments where I wanted to throw in the towel. I wanted to give up. I didn't want to do it anymore. And then I just gave myself those 5 minutes and then it got better. And if I wouldn't have given that, I would have missed it. So give it more because you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. Give yourself just a little bit more. Give yourself more breathing room. Give yourself more grace. Give yourself more time.
I love it. That was a beautiful answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Rapid fire.
Bring it.
First one. What's one small thing that always makes you smile?
I have an enormous dog that's the size of a small pony.
She is
lobbyist,
big girl.
wonderful. It's a South African Borbal, and she's amazing. She always makes me smile.
Now, If you could live in any era of history, which would it be?
Oh my goodness. When was grunge rock? 90s, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Hey,
God.
I'm with you. If I could go back in time and see Nirvana live, I'm with you.
Right. Right. Like probably senior, my early 20s, early 20s.
Mm, okay, I like it. What's your favorite way to relax after a long day?
Uh, bath.
Ooh, yeah,
Big bath girl.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and let me tell you, 11 months in prison where you have to wear flip-flops in the shower, you learn to appreciate being able to have a bath.
Yeah, that checks out. Mm-hmm. I could see how that would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
your answer. Now, if your life had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh boy. Right now in this very moment,
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, I forgot that you existed.
Ooh.
What a glorious gift learning to have indifference feels.
Mm,
You know,
wow.
when you look at him and he just has as much weight as a chair.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, wonderful.
Mm. Guilty pleasure you secretly enjoy.
Uh, decaf coffee because I can't do the caffeine, but I like the taste of coffee. I don't, it's so weird.
Are we twins?
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeses. Really. I'm the same way. Like
How do you take
I
your coffee then?
I'm just a milk and sugar girl with the coffee.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm just basic.
Well, right now I'm doing decaf coffee because I don't do caffeine very well, but
Yeah, same.
splash of chai because it's like fall,
Ooh.
right? Splash of chai with milk. The chai that I have is a little sweetened, so I don't tend to put sugar in it. Without the chai, I put sugar in it. But like try decaf coffee, splash of chai with milk.
And I love chai. Okay,
Delicious.
done and done. Do you have a favorite book, movie, or song that always lifts your spirits?
Oh gosh. You know, there's this adorable book. It's The Boy, the Fox, the Mole, and the Horse.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, is that book emotional and incredible? And it's one of those books where you can like flip the page and then open it, and that's your message for the day. It's so uplifting and
Mm.
so incredible. I love it to pieces. My sister-in-law, Suzanne, gifted it to me quite some time ago. It's a good one. And then classic favorite, all-time classic favorite. Um, oh my God, there's going to be so many comments about this, of course, but it's called Necessary Lies by Diane Chamberlain, and it's about in the 70s when they were um, youth sterilizing women without their
Oh, yes.
consent.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible book. It's one of
Mm.
my classic favorites because it's when the government started like sterilizing women and like not telling them. They'd be like, "Oh, you have to have your appendix out." Haha, just kidding. We don't want you on government money, so we're going to sterilize you and not tell you. Great book. Interesting book.
Yeah.
That's one of my classic favorites. And then what was your other question? Song? Is that
Song.
song? Oh, Free by Tommy Prophet.
Ooh.
If you haven't heard that song, definitely get on your whatever streaming system. Free by Tommy Prophet, and you'll be like, oh, that song was written for Sherri Papini. Weird.
How amazing. I'm glad that there's like something out there that just like hits different, right?
Yeah.
In every which way. Music is
I'm going to send
so
it to you
healing.
after this.
Please
You'll
do.
love it. You'll love it.
Okay. Love that. If you could spend a day anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Anywhere in the world. Oh my gosh, I think about that all the time because I'm still on probation. And so I
Yeah.
fantasize about when that is finally lifted, that I can drive outside of my borders and things like that.
Mm.
I want to go to Ireland so bad.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds so incredible. So I fantasize about being able to travel.
Mm. You'll get there.
Yeah,
You'll get there. Who or what inspires you most in your life right now?
my dad. My dad is very
Mm.
quiet. He's one of those men that doesn't like attention and he kind of hangs in the background, but he comes in and he'll say something so profound that will all kind of your jaws hit the ground and go, "Oh my God, Richard, that's so life-changing." And then he'll just be like, "I'm gonna go for a walk now." And then, and then like moonwalk away and leave you with this mic drop moment. I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky.
Mm. That makes me happy to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's a quirky habit or fun fact about yourself that most people don't know?
Oh, quirky habit. I'm very I find a lot of humor nowadays, right? So I used to be so broken down by being bullied and stuff like that. And then in prison I learned the art of the clapback. So, I get eviscerated for this stupid hair flip on my film, but like I do that just regularly because it's so obnoxious to
Hmm.
be bullied about the most ridiculous things. So, I find it very funny and I joke about that. And sometimes I'll joke about things where I'm around people and they're like, "Oh God." I'm like, "Too soon? Are we, sorry for the dark humor."
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm just really silly. I'm really silly and I try to find the humor in things. So I laugh a lot. Laugh a lot.
Mm.
I
You
think
are silly.
making fun of myself is like simple. So like it takes the wind out of their sails, right? When you have a
Right.
bully who's like, all of that, and then you just agree with them, then they're just like, "Wait, what? Oh, crap. She has a
Yeah,
sense of
that
humor.
part.
Damn it."
No, that was like one of my biggest takeaways. I was like, "Oh, you're silly." Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
and I just found myself like giggling with you and just laughing.
How
And
dare you? You're
yeah,
pretty. You're not allowed to be funny. Come on.
truly. Come on. You need to be serious at
That's
all
going to be a
times,
soundbite. You're
probably.
welcome. Go ahead and turn that into a soundbite. Take it.
Yeah, but they're like, "Where's that sound bite from?" Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
listen to that one,
they'll be
guys.
in for a rude
Listen to that one.
Sherri, like I said, the way I was feeling at the start to where we are at the end, it's been a ride, it's been a journey, and I'm so glad that this will be out in the world because you deserve a voice, you deserve autonomy, and you deserve care and safety. And what you've done today is just truly, I keep saying it, I could not be more proud of you. And I know this wasn't easy, and I know what you've experienced in the few months, rapidly doing these podcast interviews. And I'm just glad that you did take the time to hold a beat, to rest and digest and reflect and do everything that you needed to do to take care of Sherri. And that was very evident when we first started having, this conversation about you coming on the podcast. And the timing couldn't be more perfect. Like I said, we really are living in a time that women are actively being suppressed. And, again, the vilification of women, the non perfect victim or survivor or whatever. Full stop. No, thank you. Um, that's what you did today. You really, really showed up in a way that I know will resonate for so many and for so many trauma survivors who do tune into this show. And I thank you for all that you're doing. This, I mean, truly, I've got to bring it back once I'm actively recording the podcast again, but the unscripted side where it's just you and I just going in on whatever the fuck we want.
I love it. I love it. I'm so down.
Like, we can get into some good topics, you know, and you forever have a place here to land, to speak your truth, and just know that you will be treated and honored as a human, not for clickbait, not for punches, not for anything other than giving you your voice and freedom back. So thank you so much for doing this interview.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been absolutely incredible.
Thank you, Sherri.